Healthcare Exposed with S.R. Ridley, a nurse you can trust.
I'd like to thank everyone for joining us again. This is our 4th episode. And for all the subscribers who have subscribed, we appreciate each and every one of you. However, this topic today saddens me. No nurse should ever go to nursing school and due to forces slightly beyond their control, end up being indicted for murder. In today's episode, you will learn 3 things. You will learn about the nurse who killed the 25-year-old who entered Vanderbilt Hospital in Tennessee complaining of a mere headache due to a horrible medication error. Then we will discuss and we will dismantle the fracturing of a healthcare system that failed this young, fledgling new nurse. And then we will end with a demonstration of a medication that comes in a powder that should not have been given, with a medication that comes in a very small vial, a liquid that should have been given. And then from now on, we'll always end with a question, the question to you. So now let's begin. True story. A 25-year-old entered an emergency room in Vanderbilt Hospital in Tennessee in 2017 complaining of a headache. The physician ordered for the patient to receive a medication called midazolam Versed. This medication is a sedative. And this medication is in the same family as Valium is in. And so it can work for headaches because Valium can work for headaches. Now, you have to understand the nature of being a nurse in the emergency room. Everything is moving really fast. And this is why I tell you that new nurses should never start in an emergency room because you just don't have time to think. You have to already come knowing how to think, knowing how, more importantly, to critically think. Critically thinking means to plan for the what if and be able to analyze your decisions and the decisions that you're making, how they affect the environment around you and how the environment around you affects the decisions that you are making. So it is my hope that all new nurses less than 5 years, and all the nurses that were trained under this new model, where new nurses should train new nurses, find this video and listen, because this could be you. You could be the one fighting for your life in a courtroom, about to do 5 to 8 years for murdering an innocent person. Now, what's really odd about this situation is that this error wasn't found until 2018, the fall of 2018, by a routine investigation by the state. Now, as I told you in one of the other videos, that when you die, when a patient dies within an emergency within 24 hours, that patient is usually, in most states, what we call a medical examiner's case, which means they have to go to where they do autopsies and find out the cause of death. I don't believe this particular person made it to the ME's office, but nevertheless, every death has to be reported to the state, and this death was not reported to the state of Tennessee. Now, that's the true story. Those are the medications. Versed. And the second medication where she made the unfortunate error was a medication, a paralytic called vecuronium. Vecuronium is a medication that is used to paralyze a patient. Paralyzation means you do not move. Most patients that undergo anesthesia, this is the part that frightens them the most. We call it locked-in syndrome, where you are paralyzed and you cannot move, but you can sense everything around you. You can't even move your eyes. All your muscles cannot move. So unfortunately, this patient died the worst way ever. This patient died actually feeling the seconds of life being drained from his body, second by second, minute by minute. This paralytic that comes in a powder, vecuronium, works within 2 to 4 minutes. The brain dies within 6 minutes without oxygen. So you can surmise that for 8 minutes to 10 minutes, this young person suffered. So 6 degrees of separation. How did this nurse, how did the system fail this nurse? And I don't want you to think that this nurse, this situation is completely unique, because I have personally witnessed this era multiple times by new fledgling nurses. The only difference is that there were experienced nurses such as myself, that I call real nurses, around to help stop the era. What this patient needed was a breathing tube put down so this patient could still breathe until this drug wore off in 30 to 45 minutes. Unfortunately, this nurse failed to recognize. She failed to recognize that the error she made, the detriment of the error she made, because it could have been, his death could have been prevented. And it wasn't. So when I tell you 6 degrees of separation, this nurse should not be on trial by herself. She shouldn't be on trial, period, because she's not the only one. This is just a situation that happened to accidentally be found out when allegedly they tried to sweep it under the ground. Now, why shouldn't she be on trial, and who should be on trial with her? Well, she was trained by a nurse, okay? That nurse should be on trial too. Her preceptor. We spoke about a preceptor before. The preceptor is the most important person for the nurse leaving nursing school and entering a hospital into the workforce, because this nurse, he or she, shapes not only the integrity of this nurse, but it shapes this nurse's nursing career, her ability to critically think, her ability to analyze, her ability to safely and properly care for you. And then who else? The nurse manager, who sanctions this nonsense where new graduate nurses should train new graduate nurses, and also the medical staff, because the doctors know that these nurses are not prepared to handle the workload that they are experiencing. And then ultimately the hospital administration should be on trial too, along with the businessmen who came up with this modality that new nurses should train new nurses, and the nurse who did the research 9 years ago who desecrated the field of nursing when she said that new nurses should train new nurses. So if this nurse is being indicted, then I promise you 98% of all fledgling new nurses have attempted or killed a patient in the emergency room. And for all the new nurses who are going to say, SR, really, you're being a little rough, I never killed a patient. If any of you administered the sepsis protocol to anyone over the age of 45, over the age of 60, or a young person with any type of past medical history, such as a pacemaker, low circulation, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, you did attempt to kill someone, and you did kill someone. You just didn't see it because that patient died in the ICU, the intensive care unit, or they went to a nursing home after getting a hole in their throat and a hole in their belly when they were at the slots, playing at the slots a week ago, all due to you flooding their lungs. Back to this nurse. They all should be on trial. Healthcare should be on trial. This nurse should not be on trial because she is a victim of circumstances. She is a victim of the nurse who did research. She is a victim of a soulless healthcare system who does not care that she's not trained properly. A healthcare system who chose the weakest link to train her, and a healthcare management who doesn't give, well, I can't say that, who doesn't care about patient safety, who doesn't put patient safety, your safety, at the forefront of their mission. Now let's look at what happened. So this is this is not the actual medication, I just want you to know that, but it's a liquid like this. You probably can't see it, but very small. That is it. The other medication, which I'm going to show you up here, comes in a large vial, and it comes as a powder. Now, when the doctor orders this medication, one of the seasoned nurses had the audacity to say, well, it happened because she didn't scan the patient. So now your life has to be relegated to a computer? Half the machines don't even work. I have a blog coming out called The Worst Hospital, coming Tuesday to LinkedIn Post. Please read it, please. So the medication where she made the error, carvecronium, comes as a powder. You have to put water in it, which means you have to dilute it. We call it in healthcare reconstitute. Then you have to shake it up. Shake it, shake it, shake it, shake it. You have to shake this medicine up. And you have to get all the particles together. When you shake it up, you usually put one of these in it, 10 cc's, big syringe. This medication is drawn up. You're supposed to wipe it off with alcohol. I'm not going to do that now. It's just water in here. We glued the top back down. So this is what should have been given to this patient. Versed midazolam, small syringe, and then we take one of these, which is normal saline, and we flush it behind. Okay? That is what should have occurred. I'm going to put this back in here, and let me tell you what happened. I'm going to have to use one of these because I don't know, it's 10 cc syringe. Okay. What she did, now imagine this is a smaller amount. She drew up this much medication. Now remember, I showed you this medication. Okay, so first, clear medicine, cloudy medicine, little syringe, big syringe. At some point in her actions, something should have stopped her to say, wait a minute. Why am I mixing this medication? That's not normal. Why do I have such a large syringe? Why is it so cloudy? Okay? Her critical thinking just gone out the window. She never realized her error, okay? First mistake, powder, big bottle. Second mistake, big syringe, mixing it up. Third mistake, big syringe. Fourth mistake. The biggest mistake was that she pushed this. And so let's say you're a patient and we do need to put a breathing tube down. You never paralyze before you sedate, okay? Because you'll be awake and you can't move. That's a horrible feeling. That's a horrible feeling. So she never recognized this error. This is the part that's unfathomable. So why do I say that it's not completely her fault? It's not completely her fault because in the emergency room today, all they care about is speed, moving you in, moving you out. This nurse was probably moving at lightning speed. Her brain was probably thinking about the next other patient. She has the charge nurse, the token charge nurse, to show me the money, motto charge nurses. They don't care about patient safety. All they're caring about is, hey, are you going to get that patient out? Hey, is that patient going to go upstairs? Hey, they don't care about safety. They don't care whether or not the patient has even received the right medication or whether or not the patient is about to be killed. I know that sounds drastic, but that is the truth. So if you take inexperienced nurses and you put them in positions that they're not trained and properly have the capabilities to function at optimal level, whose fault is it? Is it the poor nurse's fault? Is it the preceptor's fault? Is it the person who did this horrible research? Is it the nursing management's fault? Is it the hospital administration's fault? Is it the fault of the businessmen who look at you as dollars and cents? Let me ask you a question. Does a great nation make healthy people, or do healthy people make a great nation? What is our GNP, our gross national product? What do we make? Do we make oil? No. What do we make? Our gross national product is us. We, the people. We are our gross national product. If we don't invest in our own safety, who will? Should this young 25-year-old have entered the emergency room and died from a headache? No. Should this nurse be on trial for murder? No. And if you're going to hold her accountable for murder, then you're going to have to hold Vanderbilt, the doctor, the doctors, the nursing administration, the nursing management, the preceptor, the nurse who did this foul research. All 6 of them need to be on trial together for the murder of this young 25-year-old. This 25-year-old had children, maybe. Definitely had some grandchildren for his parents in there. But nevertheless, the 25-year-old had a life. Did they know that their life was going to end that day? No, they didn't know that. So my mom said to me, she said, "You're being a little harsh, like I'm being too harsh." So I asked my mother, and I'm going to ask you, how many have to die at the hands of these novice, fledgling, unfortunate nurses who are inappropriate and not and are academically and clinically malnourished to be in an emergency room functioning as a high-level nurse? They are imposters, and it's not even their fault. But how many have to die? See, I asked my mom that. She couldn't answer. But for me, a real nurse, the answer is 0. None. No one deserves to die at the hands of inexperience. Why have we become a society that champions ignorance and relegates experience? Where are the experienced nurses? You should never enter an emergency room as a new graduate nurse. Now, I know I say this all the time, and I had a new nurse contact me. And I work with the new nurses. They always say they learn a lot from me. And they know how I feel. They know I feel they shouldn't be in an emergency room, and I tell them why. Not because I think they're bad people. They're awesome people. I love new nurses. But they're just not prepared. They're just not academically or clinically prepared. But one called me, and she said, "Oh, I know you don't think we should be in the emergency room, but that's what they're offering us." And I said, "Okay." She said, "Why don't you teach us?" Right? So my daddy always said, "Don't complain if you don't have a solution." So I do have a solution. That's why the 10 secrets in this book, Are You Safe in Today's ERs? The 10 secrets that hospitals, doctors, and nurses don't want me to tell you will protect you and your family. And in every video I tell you, I ask myself, are you selling a book? I'm not selling a book to you. What I'm selling to you is for you to live your best life. And this book, guaranteed, will help you live that best life. And then I always tell you, if nothing else, get the free ER safety checklist. This is designed to be there when you need it so that you can stay safe in today's ERs. But back to the new graduates statement before we wrap up here. I'm starting a new show called Ask a Nurse You Can Trust. And this show, YouTube channel, is for the nurses. This is my gift to you so that I can't turn you to a nursing expert, but if I can take you from senior student to new graduate and do my best to train you academically and clinically to get you to think and understand what critical thinking is, because if you think concept maps are critical thinking, absolutely not. A concept map, for those of you who don't know what a concept map is, down below will tell you what it is. A concept map is basic nursing. That is what you should know. That show is for you. Now, as I end here, I have to tell you again, the 10 secrets in this book will save your life. I want you, me, S.R. Ridley, a nurse you can trust, I want you to live your best life. And I don't want what happened to this young person to happen to you. I don't want you to be an accidental medical error. Remember what I told you. John Hopkins said that 47% of all medical errors that occur in a hospital are due to human medical error. 2016. I leave you with this one question. As you share, like, comment, and subscribe, should this nurse go to jail? First question. Last question. If you say yes, should she go to jail, or should she be on trial by herself? Thank you again. This is our 4th episode. I am S.R. Ridley, and don't forget the hashtag and let healthcare know that you are not going to take it and your life matters. Live your best life with these 2. Thank you. See you next Wednesday.
Thank you, and see you next Wednesday for Truth Hour, Healthcare Exposed. And don't forget to click that button now and subscribe, comment, share, and like. And then I, S.R. Ridley, a nurse you can trust, want you to get mad and hashtag My Life Matters and let healthcare know that you are not going to take it anymore. Because in healthcare, all lives matter. Are you safe in today's ERs? Next Wednesday.